You were raised to be good with money. Turn off the lights. Clip the coupon. Finish the leftovers. Never, ever waste a thing. It felt like wisdom. It felt like the careful, responsible path your parents walked long before you. But that penny-watching training is the precise reason you are still standing almost exactly where you started, and almost nobody in your life will ever point it out. Because somewhere along the way, you were handed a single question to ask about money. And it was the wrong one. The question was always this: where can I cut? Not once was it, how can I earn more? Sit with that for a moment. Your entire financial life got quietly built around shrinking, trimming, and going without. Around defense. And defense, no matter how flawlessly you play it, runs straight into a hard wall you can never break through. Here's that wall. You can only ever cut your spending down to zero. That is the absolute limit of saving. Skip every coffee, cancel every subscription, reuse every bag, and the very best you can possibly achieve is to spend nothing at all. But earning has no ceiling. None. One direction slams shut at zero. The other runs all the way to infinity. And you were trained, drilled, praised, and gently rewarded for staring, your whole life, at the one with the floor. So why does the cutting feel so urgent and so righteous, while the earning feels almost dirty, almost greedy? That reaction is not a flaw in your character. It is your brain operating under scarcity. Two researchers, Sendel Mullainathan and Eldar Shaffer, spent years studying exactly what a shortage does to the human mind. Their central finding even has a name: scarcity. And it works like this. The instant money feels tight, your attention narrows and clamps down onto the gap directly in front of you. The bill that is due, the price on the shelf, the $3 you might shave off a bottle of detergent. They call it tunneling. Your focus tunnels onto the small, screaming, immediate hole, and the entire world outside that tunnel goes dark. It feels like you are finally being responsible. You are actually being captured. Because while your whole mind is busy hunting $3 victories, the moves that could genuinely change your life sit far outside the tunnel. Learning a skill that pays. Asking for the raise. Starting the small side income. Building the one thing only you could build. All of it invisible, because scarcity has narrowed your headlights down to the next 3 feet of road. And Mullainathan and Schaffer found something sharper still. Scarcity does not only steal your attention, it quietly taxes your intelligence. In their studies, people in the grip of a money shortage scored measurably lower on reasoning and problem-solving, as if the worry itself were draining horsepower straight out of the brain. Not because they were less able, because the constant low hum of not enough was eating the very bandwidth they needed to think. So the penny pinching does not just keep you poor. It actively makes it harder to think your way out of being poor. The trap has teeth. You already know this feeling, even if you have never once put a name to it. The month gets tight, and suddenly you are standing in a grocery aisle doing careful math over a $2 gap between 2 boxes of pasta. Your whole mind is right there, pinned to the shelf. And it is exactly in those weeks, when the pressure is highest and the real stakes are largest, that the bigger, braver, life-changing thoughts go strangely quiet. Scarcity picks the worst possible moment to shrink you. There is a second layer underneath this, and it runs even deeper into how you see the world. The psychologist Carol Dweck spent her career mapping 2 different mindsets. A fixed mindset, where you believe the amount is set, the pie is finished baking, and your only job is to guard your slice. And a growth mindset, where the pie itself can be made larger by what you do. The way you were raised to handle money is the fixed mindset poured straight into your wallet. There is a set pile. Protect the pile. Do not lose a crumb of the pile. Watch it like a hawk, forever. But real wealth has never, in the whole of history, come from guarding a fixed slice. It comes from the stubborn belief that the slice can grow, followed by the actual work of growing it. One worldview spends all its energy defending. The other spends its energy building. You were handed the one that only knows how to defend. And it is worth asking where this training even came from, because here is the gentle part. Your parents were not foolish to teach it. They were simply teaching it for a different war. Go back just a generation or two. Many of the people who raised you lived through real, grinding scarcity. Hard depressions. Rationing. Lean years when a wasted scrap of food was a genuine danger. In that world, saving every last penny was not a personality quirk. It was survival itself. So the lesson got carved deep and then passed down, parent to child, like a treasured family heirloom. Be careful. Hold on tight. Whatever you do, do not reach for more, because reaching is exactly how you lose the little that you already have. That instinct kept your grandparents alive, and then it was handed down to you, perfectly intact, in a completely different world, like a heavy winter coat draped over your shoulders in the middle of summer. You are still wearing it. You are still sweating under it. And you have been taught to call that sweating responsibility. So here is the part that quietly breaks people the moment it lands. You cannot save your way to wealth. The arithmetic simply will not allow it. Walk through the numbers once. Save $500 every single month, which is already more than most people on Earth can actually manage. And reaching $1 million through saving alone would take you more than 160 years. 160. You do not have that kind of time. No human does. And the reason is brutally simple. Your saving is permanently capped by your earning. You can never, ever set aside $1 you did not first bring in. Which means the real game was always happening upstream, at your income, and you were carefully taught to fight it downstream, at your spending, in the one place where almost no leverage exists. Tangled up in all of this is a comforting little lie you have heard 1,000 times. That money cannot buy happiness, so why bother chasing more of it? For years that sounded like wisdom, even like virtue. Then a researcher named Matthew Killingsworth tracked the real, moment-to-moment happiness of tens of thousands of people and lined it up against their income. And the comforting line cracked. On average, more income kept making life measurably better, while past the point where everyone had simply assumed it stopped matching. More earning, it turned out, was not greed. For most people it showed up as more breathing room, more calm, fewer nights lying awake doing frightened math in the dark. And here is the quiet scandal underneath all of it. None of this was ever taught to you on purpose. You spent years in school memorizing the date of a battle you will never think about again, and not one single hour learning how income actually grows, how a skill compounds over a lifetime, or how plain ordinary value gets turned into money. The cutting was drilled into you at home. The earning was left out of the entire curriculum of your life. So you grew up fluent in one half of a game nobody ever told you had to. Picture two people standing side by side. The first is a master of cutting. She knows the price of everything, never wastes a cent, and feels a small clean jolt of pride with every dollar she saves. The second barely budgets at all, but pours his energy into getting better at something other people will gladly pay for. 5 years go by. The first has a beautifully organized life and very nearly the same bank balance she started with. The second has doubled what he earns. Same 5 years. Same effort. Wildly different direction, because one of them was aimed at the floor and the other at the open sky. Now hold your own ordinary week up against all of this. You drive clear across town to save $4 on groceries. You spend a careful hour comparing 2 phone plans to trim a couple of dollars a month. It feels productive. It feels, honestly, like winning. But that very same hour, turned around and aimed upstream, at a skill, a pitch, a small side project, a better-paying role, could be worth not $4 but $400 or $4,000, and then paid out again and again for years. The coupon rewards you exactly once. The skill keeps paying you for the rest of your life. The scarcity tunnel hides that difference completely. It blows the $4 win up until it fills your whole windshield, and it shrinks the $4,000 move down until it looks risky, abstract, and impossibly far away. So you reach for the small sure thing every single time, and you proudly call it discipline. And earning more does not mean grabbing or clawing or hustling yourself into the ground. Strip it all the way down, and earning more is simply this: becoming more useful to more people, and then refusing to apologize for it. A skill someone genuinely needs. A problem you can solve that others cannot. Work that builds something real. That is not greed. That is contribution with a price tag, and you were quietly raised to feel guilty for even wanting it. You were never weak for any of this. You were simply running the exact program you were handed at 3 years old, at the kitchen table. A program written for survival, in a world that no longer exists, by people who loved you completely and only knew the one war they ever had to fight. But you are not in their war, and the coat does not fit you. So keep every part of this that is actually real. Spending with intention is good. Throwing money away is foolish. Not one bit of that changes today. What changes is the question. Stop asking only, where can I cut? Start asking, just as loudly, and just as often. How can I earn more? One of those questions has a floor of 0 and nothing beneath it. The other has no ceiling at all, and it has been quietly waiting your entire life for you to simply turn your head and finally look at it. You were raised to be good with money. Now you can finally see the whole truth. You were raised to be brilliant at the cheaper half of the game, and you were never once told that the other, bigger half even existed.